They sold my car without even asking me, not because we were desperate, not because I'd done something wrong. They sold it. For my brother's tuition. And years later, I bought the entire university he graduated from. Yeah, you read that right. But before we get to that, let me take you back, because the betrayal didn't start with the car. It started way before that, when I realized I was never the favorite child. I was just the backup plan. I'm Max, 28 now. Back then, I was just a 21-year-old working my first post-college job in tech. I'd finally bought my dream car, midnight blue Tesla Model 3, paid in full, no loans, no cosigner. Just me, my code, and 3 years of freelancing through college while everyone else partied. I'd just parked it in the driveway of my parents' house when it all began. That night, I overheard my parents whispering in the kitchen. Mum said something like, "We can't let Josh drop out. That university is everything to him." Dad replied, "We're already stretched thin, unless we use Max's car." I thought I misheard them. Surely they wouldn't just take my car, right? I mean, Josh was their golden child, yeah, but even they wouldn't cross that line. The next morning, my car was gone. At first, I thought it was stolen. I ran outside barefoot, heart pounding, but there was no broken glass, no sign of forced entry, just a folded piece of paper taped to the front door. "We know you'll understand. Josh's future depends on this. We'll make it up to you." Mum and Dad. I wish I could say I stayed calm, but I lost it. I kicked the porch railing so hard I cracked a post. I called them, straight to voicemail, texted, left on read. It took 2 full days before they responded. They finally admitted it. They sold my Tesla for $38,000. Every cent wired straight to the university for Josh's tuition. I wasn't just furious, I was gutted. This wasn't just about the car. It was everything I'd worked for, my independence, my success, my worth. And they tossed it aside like spare change, like I was just the ATM with a pulse. Now here's the worst part. Josh knew. He knew what they were doing, and he said nothing. When I confronted him, he actually had the nerve to say, "You already graduated, bro. You've got a job. I'm still trying to make it." I stared at him. "I saved for that car since high school. I built everything myself. And you just stood there while they sold it?" He shrugged. "You'll be fine. You always are." That line, it stuck with me for years. "You'll be fine." It was his way of saying, "You don't matter. You'll survive. Let me win." I moved out that week, cut contact, got my own apartment, buried myself in work. I didn't even look back, but that betrayal, it never left. It sat with me, grew roots, hardened me. Fast forward 6 years. I'm standing in a boardroom in Silicon Valley, suit crisp, smile calm. But inside, I'm on fire. Because right in front of me is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. A private equity firm had just contacted me. They were liquidating assets of a for-profit university group. One of those campuses was the exact university my brother just graduated from. That same school, that got my car money. I felt my jaw tighten, my hands curled into fists at my sides. The same brother who still hadn't apologized. The same parents who acted like they did me a favor. I didn't even hesitate. I told the firm, "I want full acquisition rights. Name your price." What happened next? Let's just say I wasn't planning to stay silent anymore. But here's the part no one saw coming. Buying the school. That wasn't revenge. That was just the beginning. Because what I found in their internal records, what Josh had really been doing while he was earning his degree. Let's just say the tuition money was the least of my worries. And when I revealed it at his graduation, people didn't clap, they didn't cheer, they stared, silent, horrified. You won't believe what I exposed, but trust me, they earned it. I didn't just buy the university, I bought every dusty file, every buried invoice, every alumni record tied to it. When you buy a school, especially a private one, you don't just get buildings, you get access. And what I found turned my stomach. But let me rewind, because before the dirt came the setup. I kept it quiet, real quiet. Didn't tell a soul I now owned a majority share of the university Josh was about to graduate from. Didn't even tell the other board members who I was. I let my legal team handle the acquisition under a holding company with a different name. Why? Because I wanted to walk in on graduation day with one hell of a surprise. But that wasn't the only plan I had brewing. A few weeks after I bought the school, I requested Josh's academic record. Totally legal. I had the rights. And what I found? The guy never even passed half his courses. I scanned through his transcript. Intro to Finance, withdrawn. Business strategy, incomplete. Capstone project, marked pending faculty review. For 9 months, my hands were shaking. I knew Josh was lazy, but this was full-on fraud. I dug deeper. Turns out my brother wasn't just skating by. He had a little help. From who? A certain department head. One who had suspicious Venmo payments logged monthly from my parents' account. Yup. They hadn't just sold my car. They'd been bribing a faculty member to fake my brother's grades for nearly 2 years. You know what that means? Josh wasn't a graduate. He was a liability. I remember just sitting there in my apartment, lights off, screen glowing, heart pounding. I felt sick, not because of what they'd done, but because this was my family. These were the same people who lectured me about responsibility, who praised Josh for overcoming challenges, who looked me in the eye and said, "You wouldn't understand. He's not like you. You're too independent." Independent? They meant disposable. But here's the kicker. Despite all the bribery, the missing credits, the academic dishonesty, Josh was still set to walk across that stage in 2 weeks. Diploma printed, family invited. My parents even had matching shirts made. Josh, future CEO. Cute. I decided then and there I wouldn't cancel the graduation. Oh no, I was going to let it happen. Let the lights come on. Let the audience cheer. Let the fake story unfold. Then I'd burn it to the ground. 2 days before graduation, I scheduled an all-hands faculty meeting. Most of them didn't even recognize me until I introduced myself. "Hi, I'm Max, the new majority owner, and today we're going to have a little talk about integrity." You could have heard a pin drop. I laid it all out. The falsified grades, the bribery trail, the names, dates, screenshots, everything. Some professors looked horrified. Some looked nervous. But the department head who took the payments, she stood up, arms crossed, and said, "You have no proof these payments were for academic favors." I didn't even flinch. I hit a button. A projector screen came down. On it, her own email chain instructing a TA to adjust Josh's capstone grade. The room exploded. She turned pale. I didn't fire her. She resigned on the spot. Security escorted her out before the meeting even ended, but that still left the graduation, because Josh was still planning to walk that stage like he earned it. And my parents, they were already flying in family from out of town. They posted some cringy photo on Facebook of Josh holding a fake diploma with the caption, "Our genius. Sacrifices were made, but look where it got us." I stared at that post for 10 minutes. Then I called the stage crew. "We're going to add a small moment after the business grads walk," I said. "Don't change anything else. Just make sure everyone's still rolling cameras." Because I wasn't just planning to confront Josh. I was about to expose him in front of everyone. You ever seen someone's ego pop in real time? Wait till you hear what happened on that stage. Let's just say he stepped up expecting a diploma. He left with something else entirely. Josh stood at the edge of the stage, shoulders back, perfect smile plastered on his face. Our last name rang out across the loudspeakers like a royal decree. "Joshua Taylor, Bachelor of Business Administration." People clapped. My parents stood up, phones out, cheering like they just watched their son cure cancer. He stepped forward to grab the diploma. And that's when it happened. The mic cracked. The speaker cleared her throat. "Before we continue, the university has a special announcement regarding this degree conferral." Josh froze. I was backstage, watching everything through a monitor. My heart wasn't racing. I was calm because I knew what was coming. The speaker continued, "After a recent audit, it has come to our attention that Mr. Taylor's academic record contains several irregularities, including unauthorized grade changes and incomplete coursework." Gasps. Whispers started rippling through the audience. My parents slowly lowered their phones. "Due to these findings, the degree has been withheld, pending formal investigation." And just like that, the applause died. Josh stood there, arms slightly extended like he was still expecting something to land in them. But nothing did. No diploma, no handshake, no applause, just silence, awkward, deafening, delicious silence. But I wasn't finished. I walked out onto the stage. No microphone, no introduction, just me. The second Josh saw me, his face dropped like he'd seen a ghost. My parents? They looked confused. Mum even mouthed, "What is he doing here?" I walked right past Josh, stood at the center of the stage, and finally took the mic. "Hi, I'm Max Taylor, proud older brother, former Tesla owner, thanks by the way." Some people chuckled nervously. 6 years ago, my parents sold my car without asking to pay for my brother's tuition. They never asked, never apologized. They told me I'd understand, that I'd be fine. Now everyone was listening. So I worked, I saved, and earlier this year, I bought a majority stake in this university. A murmur swept through the auditorium. That means I had access to everything, including my brother's academic records. I turned and looked directly at Josh. He looked like he wanted the floor to open up beneath him. Turns out my brother didn't earn this degree. He paid for it, with bribes, covered up by staff who've since been removed. At this point, people were recording, phones up, eyes wide. I looked back at the crowd. Some of you might think this is revenge, but it's not. This is a correction. Then I turned to my parents, locked eyes with them in the front row. This is what happens when you teach one child to work hard and the other to cheat. You could feel the tension in the air. It was thick. I stepped off stage, walked straight past Josh. He didn't say a word. My parents tried to flag me down. I didn't even look their way. What happened after? It didn't take long for everything to unravel. The story hit local news first, then online blogs picked it up. Tech exec exposes brother's fake degree on stage. It went viral overnight. The clip hit 3 million views in 24 hours. Josh lost everything he was lining up. The internship? Rescinded. The job offer from that startup? Gone. His name was tainted. Employers Googled now and found me. As for my parents, well, they were furious. I got a message from my mum that night. "You humiliated us. You didn't have to go that far, didn't I?" Because, let's be honest, they went that far the moment they sold my car like it was spare furniture, the moment they chose convenience over character. And just when I thought it was over, I got an email from the university's legal department. They'd completed the audit. Josh wasn't the only one with irregularities. There were dozens of students, all connected to the same faculty member. The administration had been looking the other way for years because tuition was money and Josh wasn't the only golden boy. Guess what? I now had grounds to not only clean house, but completely restructure the school. I wasn't just the guy who pulled off a public reckoning. I was now the guy in charge of rebuilding a university from scratch. I made a decision that week. I called an emergency board meeting. We changed policies, cleaned up departments, introduced a zero-tolerance policy for grade manipulation. And best part? I renamed the business department after the woman who mentored me back when I had nothing, Mrs. Alvarez, my high school economics teacher, the one who encouraged me to apply for scholarships, who let me use her classroom after hours to freelance in peace. She cried when I told her. But you know what? I wasn't done just being the owner. I had one last card to play, something I'd been sitting on, waiting for the right moment. And trust me, when I pulled this one out, even I didn't expect what came next. You'd think after publicly dismantling my brother's fake graduation and overhauling a corrupt university, I'd be done. But there was one more piece of the puzzle, a piece I'd been quietly setting up, in the background, for years. And now, it was time to flip that card. Let me take you back, just briefly, to the day I found out they sold my car. I was 20. I'd worked 2 jobs to save for it. That car was my pride, my freedom, my ticket to build the future I earned. When they told me it was gone, not just sold, but sold without even asking me, I remember sitting on the curb outside the garage and saying one thing to myself. One day, they're going to need me, and when they do, I won't be there. Well, that day had arrived. Fast forward back to now. 2 weeks after the graduation debacle, my phone buzzed. It was my mum again. I ignored it. Then another buzz. This time, my dad. Ignored. Then a third call. This one from a number I didn't recognize. I let it go to voicemail, but when I checked the message, Max, this is Uncle Ray. I know there's bad blood, but your parents are in trouble. Serious financial trouble. Their house, it's about to be foreclosed. They thought Josh's new job would help cover it, but of course they did. They gambled my future once, and now they were betting on my brother to clean up their mess. And like always, they lost. Now, here's where the final twist comes in. You see, over the past 5 years, I'd been quietly investing in real estate, not just properties, portfolios. Guess who owned the debt on their mortgage? Me. Yeah, I bought it anonymously through a shell company. I didn't do it out of spite. I did it because I wanted to control how this ended. I didn't want revenge. I wanted accountability. But most of all, I wanted peace. So I drove out to their house, my childhood home. Still smelled like lemon cleaner and entitlement. Mum opened the door like she hadn't ignored me for 6 years. Max, thank God. We've been trying to reach you. I held up a hand. Don't. Just don't. My dad appeared behind her, looking smaller than I remembered, like life had finally started cashing the checks he'd been writing on other people's backs. We didn't know who else to call, he said quietly. I walked into the living room, sat on the same couch they'd once told me to stop being dramatic on when I cried about my car. I know about the foreclosure, I said. My mum's face twisted in shame. We never thought this would happen. We wanted Josh to have a chance. I stared at her. At my expense. You wanted him to have a chance by ripping mine away. Silence. And now that he can't save you, you call the son you abandoned. My mum started to tear up. Dad sat down like his knees finally gave out. We made mistakes, he said. We know that. Then came the question, can you help us? And I paused, long enough for both of them to realize this wasn't going to be a yes or no answer. I can, I said finally, but not like you think. Here's what I did. I cleared their debt, wiped the foreclosure notice, made sure the house wouldn't be touched, but I didn't give it back to them. Instead, I converted it, legally, into a charitable trust asset under the university's outreach program. The house became a temporary residence for low-income transfer students needing housing near campus. And my parents, they were offered a room on the second floor as live-in caretakers with a monthly stipend and work responsibilities. They'd keep a roof over their heads, but now they'd be helping students like the one they turned their back on. Poetic, maybe, but I wasn't interested in poetry. I was interested in balance. As for Josh, he tried to reach out once, sent a long, guilt-ridden email about being pressured and not thinking clearly. You know what I did? Nothing. I didn't respond. Because silence is sometimes the only closure you need. Now, let me tell you how this really ends. 2 years after the house conversion, I was invited to speak at the university's annual commencement. This time, there was no sabotage, no confrontation, no bitterness, just me standing in front of a new generation. I looked out at those students, many of them first generation, some of them carrying stories no one else would believe. And I said this, Sometimes the people who are supposed to love you the most will be the first to bet against you. Let them. Use that pain. Turn it into fuel, not fire that burns, but fire that builds. Pause. I didn't set out to buy a university. I just wanted to reclaim my future. And along the way, I discovered something more powerful than revenge. Redemption. Because here's the truth. You can't rewrite your past, but you can own your story. You can turn the ugliest chapter into the foundation for something extraordinary. They sold my car like I didn't matter. Now, I own the institution that handed out their golden boy's fake degree. And every time I walk those halls, I'm reminded of one simple truth. You don't need a family's permission to build a legacy they'll never forget. If you've ever been the forgotten one in your family, drop a comment. I want to hear your story. Like and subscribe if this hit home. And share this with someone who needs to be reminded. You are not invisible. You are unstoppable. Because revenge is temporary. But self-respect, that's generational. Mic dropped.